Through the ages, many have chosen to explain heavenly events through astrology, the belief that the heavens exercise a supernatural influence over life here on Earth. From the dawn of history, man has stood on Earth gazing into the heavens, trying to make sense of it all. Staring into the vastness of space and twilight, what could have been more baffling to early man? The setting sun disappearing with the light and its warmth, the rising moon ushering in the cold, dark night, and a light show of distant stars slowly materializing before their eyes. For most ancient civilizations, anything that couldn't be explained by the primitive science of the day was believed the result of supernatural, often divine forces at play. They noticed patterns in the great star grid that have been passed down to us remarkably intact as the constellations of the zodiac. Astral signs thought to exercise a mystical influence over our lives. Imagine what early men must have felt beneath the canopy of cosmic glitter.
You have to look at the entire history of our understanding of the world, and for that matter the cosmos, as a continuity that goes back at least to the old Stone Age.
The story of how we've systematically observed the heavens begins in the days before recorded time. For primitive man, the sun reigned supreme. Its recurring cycles of light and darkness formed the basis of the first organizing principle of our natural world, day and night. This was the most basic astronomical observation, and man's first attempt to explain what was going on down here by observing what was happening up there. In effect, ushering in a belief system that looked for casual connections between heavenly and earthly matters. Many believed the sun needed to be persuaded to reappear after the cold, dark night. What was going on up there? For our earliest ancestors, with little in the way of scientific knowledge, it was a natural next step to ascribe supernatural answers to nature's most basic questions. Early man's sense of wonder at the sun's immense powers led naturally to belief in a sun god. In different forms, they are found in the pantheons of many early cultures. On the ceilings of Egyptian temples, the red dots follow the sun's daily path across the sky, a painstaking and elaborate tribute to the god that brought them day and night. In fact, the Egyptians explained the sun's daily cycles through the goddess Nut. Her arched body was said to cover the whole earth. Every night, she swallowed the sun. It then trailed through her body to rise again the following morning. The sun also provided the most basic natural daily clock. Most primitive people noticed a relationship between time and shadows. And it was in ancient Egypt that the first recorded sundials were found. By 1724, the Maharaja Jai Singh in India had created the world's largest sundial, accurate to within 20 seconds. Sundials were used right up until nearly 100 years ago, when heavenly-based timepieces were replaced by the clocks and watches of the modern world. In fact, the human body seems attuned to the same rhythms as the sun's daily cycle. Our natural daily schedule begins when the sun is first rising in the sky, with or without any reference to clocks or calendars. Even the earliest civilizations created monuments with an uncanny ability to accurately track the sun's seasonal cycles. Before the pyramids, the Irish built perhaps the most remarkable ancient buildings on the surface of our planet. In Eastern Ireland, a cluster of burial mounds were designed to mark the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice, when the days begin to grow longer and warmer, and a primitive farming people were reassured that soon it would be time to plant again. The greatest among them is the prehistoric site at Newgrange, a huge circular grave some 250 feet across. A long stone passageway extends from the entrance to a great vaulted chamber. where the ancients preserved the bones of their dead. Above the entrance is a rectangular stone box. The tomb was aligned so a shaft of light from the rising sun on the winter solstice would enter the box, travel down the stone passageway, and illuminate the rear of the chamber wall.
Newgrange is one of the oldest structures on Earth. It's older than Stonehenge, it's older than the pyramids. It probably had a great religious or ceremonial significance.
Many hundreds of miles away, on the Salisbury Plain in southern England, is perhaps the best-known solar temple and calendar of the ancient world. When these massive stones were somehow levered into place, Egyptians were only beginning to build pyramids, and yet the awesome structure at Stonehenge could accurately track the cycles of the sun, moon, and stars, suggesting an understanding of the cosmos far from primitive. Stonehenge is aligned to the rising and the setting of the sun. At the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises over the marker known as the heel stone. At midwinter, it sets at the direct opposite end of the monument.
It's quite probable that Stonehenge itself was some sort of model of the cosmos.
From Stonehenge to ancient Egypt, worship of a sun god continued to bear testament to the power of the heavens on earth. One pharaoh, Akhenaten, was engaged in a bitter struggle with the priesthood by claiming a direct alliance with Egypt's all-powerful sun god. 1400 years before the birth of Christ, Akhenaten proclaimed the sun god all-powerful and banned the worship of any other. In ancient Egypt, the sun was called the Aten, the pharaoh's name meaning loosely friend of the sun. Akhenaten closed any temple not in tribute to the Aten and marshaled gangs to literally wipe the names of all other gods from all public buildings. All mankind was to worship the sun, the Aten, the sole and supreme deity. But encouraged by their priests, the people rose up, refusing to abandon the old gods and goddesses. Soon after Akhenaten's death, the old gods were restored, and a new pharaoh, a boy of just 9, came to the throne. His real name was Tutankhaten, again in honor of the sun. But with the disgrace of the previous pharaoh, the young king realigned himself with the beloved god of Thebes called Amun, and became known instead as Tutankhamun, the most famous Egyptian king in history. But for the ancient Egyptians, the sun was even more than an object of worship and the foundation of a religious sect. It provided the basis of their understanding of the seasonal year, a legacy still with us today. To complete one full circuit, the Egyptians knew it took the sun roughly 360 days. To this day, a circle is divided into 360 degrees, each degree representing the distance traveled by the sun against the background of stars in one day. And yet, the ancient Egyptians were well aware that the true year is 365, not 360 days. Through the ancient Greeks and later the Romans, modern Western culture has inherited the Egyptian and Mesopotamian calendar and astronomy. In modern India, the festival of Diwali takes on aspects of the Western Christmas. A high point of the year when presents are exchanged and the countryside glitters with festive lights. Diwali commemorates the victory of light over darkness and goodness over evil. Every autumn, just a few days after the full moon, it moves closest to a cluster of stars known as the Pleiades. In fact, its true name, Deepavali, means cluster of lights, an obvious reference to the brilliance of the Pleiades constellation. But the history of our understanding of the heavens has generated more than seasonal and religious calendars. Modern superstition and supernatural connections between heaven and earth also have ancient roots in celestial events. To the ancient Egyptians, the sight of one star once a year was believed to have a critical influence over the entire earthly well-being, heralding health and prosperity for the coming year. Once each year, the Nile floods its banks, fertilizing their farmland and assuring a bountiful harvest. And Egyptians came to believe that one special star was responsible for this recurring act of good fortune. Sothis was the Egyptian name for the star we now call Sirius. They noticed there was a time each year when Sothis could be seen rising in the early morning just before dawn. Soon, like clockwork, the Nile would flood, and the star was celebrated as the heavenly herald of Egypt's prosperity. The Egyptians inherited their understanding of the heavens from even earlier civilizations that developed in the so-called Fertile Crescent, then known as Mesopotamia. Here, in a land without stone, they built the first towns and once great monuments called ziggurats from the first mud bricks, much like those still used today. They were also among the first to map the pinpricks of light in the night sky. On these tiny preserved stones is carved the original zodiac, invented in Mesopotamia and passed down through the ancient Egyptians to modern day. It was here in Mesopotamia, when man first attempted to track the stars above, that the two great paths of understanding the heavens began to emerge: the science of astronomy and the beliefs of astrology. It was also the Mesopotamians who began imagining patterns and designs in the starry night sky. It became a celestial join-the-dot game, and soon the sky was filled with all kinds of creatures and characters, some from mythology, some from real life. These patterns and designs were passed from one early culture to another, becoming fixed quite early in the very shapes we still know and use today. They became the so-called signs of the zodiac of the modern world. They formed a band completely encircling the sky, and through which the sun, moon, and planets pass in their travels across the heavens. Modern astrology still has its roots in the belief that if you are born when the sun appears to be in front of a particular star sign, you come under its influence. Today, we can explain astrology as a cosmic optical illusion. Each day in its orbit around the sun, the Earth moves a little farther in space, creating the effect of the sun having moved slightly against the background of stars. The Mesopotamians also noticed 5 particularly bright stars that seemed to move against the background of the zodiac constellations. We now know these supposedly wandering stars were the 5 planets visible to the naked eye. The Mesopotamians recorded the wandering stars passing through the zodiac, a skill the Egyptians later adapted in the ancient Egyptian temple of Dendera. The modern zodiac signs of Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Libra can still be seen. The Greeks inherited the cosmology of Egypt and Mesopotamia. Our modern Western understanding is derived directly from the ancient Greeks. They played with many different ideas of the heavens, eventually arriving at an explanation of the cosmos that lasted nearly 1,500 years. Stars, they believed, were lights affixed to the inside of a giant sphere. The sun and the planets were set inside, attached to a series of crystal spheres, whose rotations explain the movement of the heavens as recorded through the ages. Ptolemy, a great Greek mathematical genius, cleverly explained the orbits of all the planets with the Earth at the center of the solar system. It was his theory that was to last until the 16th century, when Copernicus came up with a new cosmic order, in which the sun, not the Earth, lay at the center of the system. And his work would lead to even more breakthroughs. Mysteries like the apparent backward movement of some planets were soon explained, using the new arrangement of the solar system. This vision of the cosmos proved an important marker in the history of our understanding of the heavens. It also contributed to the diverging paths of astronomy, a science that can be tested for truth, and astrology, a mystical belief system. Today's astrological charts and the meaning we ascribe to the various signs are based upon models created thousands of years ago. Yet since that time, due to the very slow wobble of the Earth on its axis, the dates when the sun is in front of the particular sign of the zodiac have changed. In fact, each has moved one entire constellation, meaning that people who now believe they were born in Aries were in reality born in the Pisces of the original charts. Even with 21st century knowledge, astrology is alive and well and followed by millions. While most scientists hold their theories to a higher standard of analysis and verification, something in astrology remains a potent belief system, attracting many to see what the stars hold for them. As our understanding has evolved, nature's laws have revealed themselves to us in various forms throughout time. Some have stared into the heavens and seen science as the answer to our most basic questions. For others, the fabric of the universe is woven of supernatural influence. And yet, either way, the gears and the wheels of our clockwork universe appear to mesh in perfect synchrony. The Egyptian sorcerers were not wrong in placing the sun at the center of their philosophy, though few now believe the sun is a god. But the impulse to see a divine plan in the heavens continues to course through our veins. As we now look across our galaxy, we can see other solar systems being born. When they are, it's likely some will support life. Some may even support intelligence. It's already possible there are thousands of civilizations out there, somewhere, studying us. There can be little doubt that, like us, when they look up into the skies above them, they will marvel at the grandeur of the heavens. Like us, they may wonder where they fit into the universal design. Like us, they too may wonder what it all means.